From the movie Titanic, that scene with Rose and her mother taking tea on the ship, to tea rooms across America, to tea rooms on British shows, to tea being served in the kitchens of British homes on TV shows. Tea's been a commodity that has been around for literally centuries. And today on Wise Woman Healing, I'm going to teach you how to make the perfect cup of tea. Delicious. Hello everyone, my name is Melissa from Wise Woman Healing, and today we're going to learn how to make a pot of tea. And it might seem like, oh, it's just so easy, hot water, tea leaves, etc. And basically it is. However, there are some certain rules to follow when one is making tea. And the first rule is to never, ever, 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 ever use tea bags in your tea. And the reason for that is because, hold on, I think I might be filming upside down, and I don't know what that would do, but I'm going to keep going. Anyway, so much for being fancy. Okay, tea bags are full of little scraps of tea that fall on the floor of the tea manufacturing facility, and they're swept up and they're bagged. And they're sold. And this is like the loose leaf facility sells them. Waste not, want not, I guess is the adage there. But if you want a truly delicious and authentic tea experience, you're going to want to use loose leaf tea. And this is how you do it. So I'm going to put this aside. And you, first of all, need to figure out a way to boil hot water. Okay, which sounds pretty simple, but I think most American families do not have electric tea kettles or even a stovetop hot water kettle. You know, you take it to the sink, you fill it up, you put it on the stovetop, turn it on, and it does that shrill whistle, let you know that the water's done. I highly recommend not microwaving the tea. Also, you cannot go to the sink and put hot water in a mug and a tea bag, or hot water in a mug and microwave. Do not use hot water from the tap for any cooking whatsoever. You want to use cold water. Filtered water is best, but if you don't have a way to use filtered water, cold water from the tap is essential. You cannot use hot water for cooking. Even the EPA recommends not using hot water for cooking, that you start off with cold water and then heat it up. This is not, oh, I have to save energy. No, it's not going to destroy the planet, but it could destroy your health, because in your hot water heater, sediments from the pipes and the road repairs and stuff get into your hot water heater. So you have to drain it periodically. And those sediments are full of arsenic, cadmium, lead, etc. And there's a difference between water passing over it to go into the cold water faucet and it's steeping there. Basically, you're making death tea if you use hot water from your hot water tank, okay? So your hot water is boiling either on your electric, through your electric hot water kettle, or the hot water kettle on top of your stove. In the meantime, what you're doing is you're taking your cups that you're going to use for tea, one more sip, and you're taking your empty teapot and you're filling them. Now this time you do use it, and I know you're going to think, well, Melissa, nope, it's different, trust me. You're going to take and fill them with hot water, and you're going to, or you can wait. If you have a large hot water heater for your stove or an electric kettle, you can use it to warm up your pots and cups. But I just use hot water from my faucet, and I let it sit in there and warm up, and then I rinse it out. Okay. And it's all ready to go, because you want to use hot or warmed up teapots and cups for your tea so that it doesn't get cold. Okay, so you have to kind of prime it. And then when your water comes to a boil, of course, you're going to empty out the hot water in your teapot. You're going to take this little lid off. You're going to put in a tablespoon. I like not a tablespoon, a teaspoon per 2 cups that I'm going to be serving. So in this pot, it's a 6-cup pot. I did 3 teaspoons for 6 cups. If you wanted it a little bit stronger, you could do 4, but they're level teaspoons. They're not heaping. If you use heaping teaspoons, it's going to be so strong, nobody's going to be able to drink it. And that is the concept behind a samovar. If you've ever seen a samovar, they have the little teapot on top. That's being kept warm, and it's really, really strong tea. It just sits there. It has a lot of loose leaf tea, black tea in it, and then they add hot water to the top of it to keep it going. But then that whole urn is full of hot water. And the tea in the small teapot is very strong, and they put it in the cup and they dilute it with hot water from the urn and add sugar and everything, and then that keeps them going. But for English tea, what we're doing is English tea, you're going to put your loose leaf tea in your pot. Now, some people will use something called a tea bell, and that is a wire mesh bell that you put tea, loose leaf dry tea in. You dunk it down into your pot, and that's okay. And not everybody likes having tea leaves floating around in their tea, but if you like to read tea leaves from your cup of tea, doing a tea bell is going to keep you from having access to those loose leaf tea leaves, and you won't be able to read your tea leaves afterward. And I know some people really enjoy doing that. Some people have made a business from that, and I think that's wonderful. I'm just tying this back up. It's getting in the way of stuff, so I'm going to turn it. So when you have tea for a bunch of ladies, let's say you're opening up a tea room, or you're having church ladies over, or just guests, friends and guests and family over, you're not necessarily going to use a tea cozy. A tea cozy is more of a personal item that, I'm going to be nursing this pot of tea for several hours, and I want a tea cozy to keep it warm. When you're running a tea business, you don't want your customers to sit there for hours and hours. You're trying to do turnover so that you can make a profit. And you're going to need, and also your tea, the pots of tea won't last that long. If you have 2 to 4 ladies per table, they are going to go through that pot of tea and the snacks pretty quick. You hope. But in regards to healing and being a Brockerai, a folk healer, what I would do is I would either do a cup or a small pot. I have smaller pots of tea that hold 2 to 4 cups teapots. And you have your client come over and maybe do some herbal tea with honey or sugar. Spearmint tea is really good. It's pretty popular. Other Brockerai use it. And then you ask them what's going on. How can I help you today? And you start having conversations. And if you're using loose leaf tea, you can progress to doing a tea leaf reading at the end or in the middle of the service. And then you can try to discern from that also what's going on in their life. And then drinking the tea gives you a chance to sit there in between doing each charm, because when you do a healing charm, you do your motions and you say the prayer, you wait 10 minutes, do the motions, say the prayer. So you're doing it 3 times, and having a cup of tea, while you're waiting is a really great way to get to know your client, and helps to fill the space between all that time of waiting to do the charm again. So this week, is the week of the 21st, which was yesterday, to the 27th, which is Saturday. And yesterday was arms because the moon was in Gemini. Today, Tuesday. I'm sorry, this is Monday. Sorry, Tuesday and Wednesday. Yesterday was Monday, so it was breasts, not arms, which was Sunday. Today is Tuesday the 23rd. The moon is in Cancer 2 days in a row. So you can work on breasts. And because it is a waxing moon, you want to do surface things or things that you can see. And then Thursday is the full moon, so it's Leo and heart issues. Then we go the next day, Friday, into a waning moon, which is heart issues. And because, because it is a waning moon, you want to do things that you can't see and then, or under the surface, and then, but not surgery. Do not do surgery on a waning moon. Then Virgo is bowels. And again, you want to do things that you can't see or things that are under the surface, which could be you give your person a tea. We always want to pray for people, call on the Trinity, a little bit of tea. You can do a little tea there, but I always want to be careful on certain body parts. One of them is the heart, because it is so very, very vital. I'm not saying that, it's okay if I don't get it right. It's not. It's never okay. But there are some things that are extra delicate that I don't want to necessarily mess with. And the heart is one of them. So going back to making tea, when you put your tea, loose leaf tea, in your teapot, you want to wait until your hot water gets to a rolling boil. That means it's it's churning out. The bubbles are really excited, and you pour it carefully onto the loose leaf tea. If you're making green tea, or herbal tea even, you do not do as hot of water with herbal or green tea. Herbal tea, you use the least hot water because it can damage the plant and mess up the oils in the plant, and it can wreck it. So just what I do is I let the water come to a boil, and then it turns off, and then I let it sit for a little bit to cool down again, and then I pour it over the loose leaf herbal tea, and I let it steep for 15 to 20 minutes covered, because if you don't cover your tea when it steeps, the essential oils are going to get out, and that's what you want. So what happens is the essential oils come up, they hit the lid of the teapot, and they fall back down into the water, or they slide back down into the water. If you don't have that on there, you lose a lot of the essential oils that are in the tea leaf or in the plant matter. And then the same with black tea, green tea. You just want to make sure you have a lid on your pot. And then green tea can be 175, 160 degrees, 175 degrees, 180, 90, 190 is getting up there. It has to be really strong green tea. Usually it stems and pieces and not the tender leafy bits. I don't know. Did I cover everything that I wanted on this? I am going to be doing a few things on tea. And I can go into greater detail. I'm going to do a recipe from this book. Emily Barnes has passed away several years ago. My favorite scone recipe, or scone. I'm an American. I'm going to say scone. My favorite scone recipe is in here. Basic scones. This recipe, right here. Basic scone recipe. 2 cups of flour, a tablespoon of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of butter, half a cup of buttermilk, and 1 lightly beaten egg that's to brush on top. And I don't follow that recipe 100%. I will put milk in there, but I don't usually do buttermilk. But I started buying some to cook with it usually. And I really like it. I make a really delicious, savory, cheesy onion soup bread that my husband absolutely loves. And that does call for buttermilk, and it interacts with, I use baking soda, not baking powder. And it kind of interacts with that to give it some leaven so it rises. It's really delicious. All right, that's all for today. I feel like this video was a little bit scattered, but if you want to know more about tea, tea rooms, tea business, whatever, I've worked in several tea rooms over the years, and I just love the whole tea culture. I've been watching the All Creatures Great and Small, and Mrs. Hall keeps an excellent and tidy home. And she's always ready with a cup of tea or a pint of ale to give visitors. If you want to read more about tea, the history of tea rooms, it's very, very interesting. Jan Whitaker wrote a book, and it's something that you might want to get from the library because, of course, awesome books like that are a little bit older can get a little pricey. It's called Tea at the Blue Lantern Inn, A Social History of the Tea Room Craze in America. And what happened with that, it was copyrighted December 1st, 2002. So what happened was a brief synopsis. The American automobile culture greatly influenced the tea culture. So you went from, people basically stayed in the cities and small towns where they were born because we didn't have the highway system always. The highway system is fairly new in America, and it originally was created to move troops from one side of the country to the other. And then as more and more people purchased vehicles and vehicles became more popular than horse-drawn carriages and stuff, people started to hit the road. Well, it was a source of freedom for women. And also, it was a source of financial freedom for women because you would have this gas station, and off to the side would be a little cafe. Well, it wasn't a little cafe. It was the people who owned their house next to the highway. The husband put in the gas tanks because he saw a business opportunity. And then the wife saw a business opportunity. She could cook, she could make tea. So she would give a little meal for the travelers and charge whatever money she felt was necessary. And that was the birth of the tea room cafe in America, the roadside cafe. And I just love that. It is such a great way for a woman to work from home, quite literally, because you're eating in her kitchen. And so here would be these smartly dressed women in their vehicles going out for an afternoon drive or a morning drive. They come to a place, they need to refuel. It's lunchtime, they're hungry. And here you go. Here's a lady. Here's some sandwiches or salad, cake, whatever. And you pay your money and, a pot of tea, and then you're done. How wonderful is that? I love stuff like that. I love, being able to make money without involving corporate America. Always, always interests me. All right. Anyway, I said I was done, and then I talked for another 10 minutes, and I know the camera's wobbling. I'm so sorry. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his light to shine upon you now and ever and into the ages of ages. Amen. Thanks for stopping by.